Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This is Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project where we are reimagining the land of Hyrule in the art style of the Wind Waker. As you know, if you've played The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, you know that all the islands of the Great Sea are secretly the mountaintops of Hyrule, but we never get to fully explore Hyrule. We only get to see a small portion of the area around the castle. So this project is all about bringing that entire world to life, fully realizing Hyrule as you've never seen it before. This is Wind Waker Unflooded. Thank you all for tuning in. If there's some new faces to the channel, I try to always give you a little short spiel in the beginning of these videos, just so you feel caught up, and give you those renders at the beginning of the video so you can see progress. I really try to make my channel accessible for new viewers. I'm looking out for y'all. I try to be. I make these videos for y'all. I don't have to be posting these videos. I don't have to, but I make them for you. And I do want to, I don't know, I'm like half joking. I want to make content that I would want to see. So I hope that y'all are enjoying it, but if you have any suggestions for my videos, feel free to comment down below if you have any preferences or any suggestions. I read comments and I take your suggestions to heart. Any suggestions for my content? I'm experimenting with new types of content. Of course, we've started the podcast on the channel, and I'm really hyped about that. Starting some new kinds of videos as far as that's concerned. But also, feedback for the project is always appreciated. And I think it's always good to voice that real quick. That if you're watching and you go, "Ooh, I wouldn't have done it that way," feel free to comment down below your ideas, criticisms, concerns, feedback. It's always appreciated. I just want to go ahead and get that out of the way. But anyway, let's get on to the video at hand. I want to go ahead and talk about what we're modeling today, lest I forget to later. But this is the Great Hyrule Sawmill. You can see I'm getting started with the building here. And this was really fun to work on because you can kind of see in these videos, and I think part of the value that I add in these videos, and tell me if I'm tripping, but it's not just seeing modeling progress, but what you're actively seeing is the active creative process. Usually when I start a video, I don't have a perfect image in mind. Maybe I have a rough idea of what I want to make, but usually I don't have a pixel perfect image in my mind that I'm visualizing and I'm executing that. It's not that simple. I'm usually making creative decisions as I'm modeling. And sometimes you'll see that in a video where I'll go one way and then delete a couple vertices, go another way, delete a couple, and then try to go in another direction. And that is something where, because the art style is so low poly, I'm really trying to be as efficient as I can with polygons. So it really is a matter of I'm not just sculpting here. I am working with individual vertices and trying to, create shapes at the most basic level, because that is the way to keep the world efficient. And I think that that's important for the continuation of this project. So the world can get bigger while, a shape is as simple as it needs to be and no more complex than it needs to be. And just like that, qualification is necessary for the project to expand, I think. And the GameCube is more powerful than the N64. I'm not trying to do N64 graphics here, but there is that limitation. And Wind Waker is surprisingly low poly, I think. I think it looks great. I think those graphics are beautiful. And I think that's the crazy thing, is I love those graphics. And I think that with a low poly art style, it's relatively low poly. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, of course. I'm not gonna ramble about that, but that's anyway. Let's talk about the sawmill for a second, because it's I wanted to do a kind of warehouse type building. This is going in kind of the area near the docks of Castletown. That's kind of the vision right now. I think that'd be really cool, because it's a water wheel based mill, where the wheels will turn, the lake will turn the water wheels, and then those will activate the saws. And I haven't modeled any interior saw blades or anything. That's something I'll come to later, I think. I just want to think about I think that's an opportunity to have some obstacles, and I don't have a full vision of how I want to set that up, but I think it could be cool to have a little room where there's like blades that you have to like avoid, and I'm just trying to imagine how to set that up. But that may be a separate endeavor, just depending on maybe depending on like what could be found inside the mill. I don't know. I'm thinking about like different options there, and like the story that I want to tell with the building, and I don't fully have that story in mind. And that's what I really like about this project, is that in order to model, I have to have a point of view on the story of the model itself. And that's something that I think that's why I enjoy doing this project, is because, you know, every time I model, it helps tell a story, and it grounds me in this world and allows me to just dive deeper into this world that I love. I love the world of Hyrule and the Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker. I love the Great Sea, and just having an opportunity to dive into that and see more of its story and tell more of a story myself, that's exciting. That's why I do the project. But anyway, before I continue with the video, I think it's time for a short break. So I'll talk to all of you again after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there's several ways that you can do that. Become a member on Patreon. It gives you access to exclusive bonus features and early access content in all of my filmmaking projects. Stuff like early access to scripts that I'm writing, storyboards, previs, rough cuts, and music that I compose. I'm a composer, and any music that you've heard in the background of this video was my music. So go to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music and type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify.
And we're back. Just had to give you that short message. As always, just got to let you know how you can support me as a creator. I don't make any ad revenue from these videos. If there's any ads on the video, it's because YouTube is making ad revenue. I don't make any. Wind Waker Unflooded is completely not monetized. I'm not making any money from Wind Waker Unflooded. So I do think if you want to be able to support me as a creator, it's important that I shout out all those ways that you've already heard. So I'm not going to repeat myself, but I do thank you for listening and for your patience as I perform those segments. And I appreciate everyone that's been supporting me. That makes such a difference, and it means so much. And it makes this possible. So I really thank everyone who's become a Patreon member, who's donated through coffee. And of course, like I said, you can listen to my music on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. And that also helps support me. So thank you all so much for doing that. I really appreciate that. In the time lapse now, I think you're able to see me work on like bringing the mill model into the Hyrule map model itself. And I'm working on like kind of creating a dock kind of area to merge it with the main Hyrule Castle town. And this was kind of fun to figure out, right? And it's like, I want there to be a lot of verticality in Hyrule Castle town, and I've been figuring out its layout, right? I've been going back and forth on some stuff, and it's still like very rough, and it's kind of an experiment, and it still feels like an experiment. But I do think, like, as I fill it in and add detail, I think it'll come together in a cool way. I think it'll be cool to kind of have this city that's you know, that's sprouted up around the castle, this opulent city with this world. And I like that something like a sawmill is a good way of kind of adding detail to that world, adding function to the world, because that's something I really wanted to do with Castletown especially, is everything I added, I wanted to feel functional and speak to a city that was being lived in, that was being used, where resources had to be managed. And I don't know, something I like from a cultural aspect, of course. If you haven't seen these videos, I've done videos on Castletown buildings where I've built an opera house, I've built a Shakespearean theater, I've built a Roman-style bath, all these things that are important for the culture of Castletown and speak to the daily lives of these people that will be living in it. And I think that's incredibly impactful to be able to tell those kinds of stories. Like I said, storytelling through the models. And yeah, and I think this sawmill, this function of industry, I think is really cool as well. And that's why I like, you know, playing with infrastructure. I've been interested in doing train systems and expanding boat systems. I think some trade vessels, they'll go along the river. I think that's a great idea, and I want to expand that for sure and play with all those things, because that helps round out the world and is just it communicates that the world is being lived in, right? Now I've talked before on this channel about like realism, and it's like, I'm not going for realism with this project. Obviously this is a cartoon world. There's times when I may break logic, and I'm okay with saying that. But I do want the world to be like, it's something that if you think about it, you can take it seriously, to think about the stories that would exist in this world and tell those stories seriously, even if they're not obeying any laws of realism. You know, even if there's things that like wouldn't quite make sense, as long as you can take the world seriously. You know, it is a cartoon, and so it's like, you know, there's aspects of it that are cartoonish. And I love that. I love that it can blend those two things, and I feel like that's what's great about the original Wind Waker game, is that it does both of those. It's a cartoon, but you can take its world seriously at the same time. And I think that's cool. And I really enjoyed trying to tap into that for this project, and I hope that I have. But anyway, I think it's about time to start wrapping up the video. So this was a fun little building to make, you know, and comment down below if you have any ideas on what you want to see next. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching, but I'll let you go.